Welcome to the For Love of Rugby. This is our Monday episode. We've had, I'm here with Ben. You right, Ben?
I'm very well, Coley. I'm very well. Yourself?
We've had 24 hours to reflect on the Lions' victory over the Australia. We've had some heat come our way. We've had some support come our way for our opinions. There's a lot of variance from, across the spectrum of rugby in regards to the game at the weekend. And, we'll address some of those comments in a bit. But how are you anyway? Have you read any of these comments? Are you all right?
Yeah, I'm fine. I think, it's interesting, isn't it? It's sort of, some people have been really positive, some people have been extremely toxic, and some people are sort of in the middle somewhere. The joys of a Lions tour creates a lot of opinion, a lot of debate. And, I thought that we put this episode together to try and answer as many as we can, Coley. And we'll delve into it, of course. Other than that, I'm all right, mate. I played golf over the weekend, which was always very nice to get out and shank a few balls. And it was my cousin's 21st, so I overindulged on the booze there, so I was feeling sorry for myself, but I'm back up and running now.
Good. Another weekend of socialising in retirement. I like it.
Also, Colin, can we also give a big shout out to all the Leicester Tigers lads that are returning to pre-season today, because their 5 weeks is up and over, and I can't help but have a little bit of a spring in my step knowing that I'm not doing Broncos and testing and skin folds and all these things to deal with today. I am happily retired, and I go well, lads. That's all I'm saying. Go well.
Yeah. Well, so depending on the weather, I might just turn up with a deck chair and watch the Bronco.
And a stopwatch. Just clock your own times. Be like, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I was quicker in my day. Oh, just like that to everyone. Oh. What we need is, when I was in the academy, we had a Ray, who was our sort of kit man / team manager, and we'd be training on like a Tuesday, Thursday nights, and then you'd just smell his cigar smoke drifting across the field. I don't smoke, but if anyone does have a massive cigar they fancy just breathing on top of all these guys in pre-season doing Bronco running, that'd really make my day.
So good. Right, our man on the ground is here for the Love of Rugby, Ant Watson in Brisbane. So he's joining us. We're going to get through as many questions as we can in Q&A, have a big chat, Coley, and who better to join us than the man that was there at the weekend than, of course, Anthony Watson. If you are watching on YouTube, though, please like and subscribe. We'd love to hit 50k by the end of the Lions. Ant is here. How is Australia treating you, mate?
It's fantastic so far, bro. I cannot complain. Everywhere you go, there's flipping Lions fans charging around. So it's interesting trying to get around, but mate, it's been class. Myself and Ugo are going to the Great Barrier Reef next week, so I'll be life vest on, not getting off the boat, because I've heard some horror stories, and I'm really not trying to get attacked by anything or bit by anything. So it's been good so far.
Is there any point going to it if you're not going to get in the water, Ant? Are you just going to just look over the boat and be like, yeah, it looks pretty down there, I can see it from here?
100%. I'll be using someone else's picture from underneath the water and claiming it as my own.
Just with the fun situation, Tone, are you fully dressed up in Lion stash with a cap on, trying to blend in, or are you not dressed as a Lion sporter, in which case you're easy to spot?
Yesterday at the Lions Den, 7,000 fans, and I promise you every single one wearing red, and then all the boys had to go out obviously and mingle, and it was so easy to spot. Honestly, there was 15 blokes who weren't wearing red shirts, so anywhere you went,
you have to dress up fully in Lion stash, then people won't get you.
Hask tried it, and that didn't work when you're 6'2" and built like he is. So yeah, I'm not sure I was getting away with that one.
Where was the game for you, Ant? Were you in a corporate box, or were you amongst the sea of red in the stands?
I was actually in a sea of yellow, mate. I was sat amongst a few of the partners from the tour, and all of them had yellow hats on. And then there was just myself and Ugo, just like we were going to film a flipping music video for NWA. So again, we stood out pretty heavily.
We actually found a picture, didn't we, Coley, of you, Ant? And we got so many questions about this picture, to be fair. So you're dead centre, but you're literally hiding in the background. You're next to Hask. Then there's like Alwyn behind that. You got Drew Mitchell there. You got Oogs straight at the front. You got Gats in his lovely sort of grey suit, and it looks like, I don't know what's happened to his legs in the picture. It looks like he's got the skinniest legs. You got Scott Quinnell, who looks like he's doing his postcode lottery face, like you've just opened up the door and he's about to tell you he's won. You got Jono top right, who looks, he couldn't be more frustrated that he's got to have another picture. Like he just looks, he's had enough. You got Tommy Bowe, you got Greenwood, you got Swoop, Adam Ashley Cooper, rocking a great haircut, mate, almost like a villain haircut, real strong V at the front, slicked back.
Yeah.
You got Benny Kay, but then you got Ben Shepherd at the front. What's the crack with that?
Well, Ben Shepherd was the host, so we can,
right.
we
Well,
can cut him some slack there. Yeah. He was kitted out fully in Lion Stash. But yeah, no, he was the host. Jono needed some serious coercing to get in that picture. He was the last in. I think he did that on purpose to just sneak into the background. But yeah, no, it was. I think everyone rocked up on very different vibes. The Aussie boys had a live show at a pub at 10 a.m. So as you can imagine, they came in with some pretty hot form. And then there was a few others who were struggling from the night before, and others who just wanted to get their work done and get it back to Sky Sports.
So good. What was it? What was the consensus with that lot? Because obviously a lot of them are Lions, majority of them are, or had been part of the Lions. What was the feeling? Were they very confident? Did you manage to see them after the game? What was their thoughts, or pre-game or post-game?
Most of the boys are pretty confident, I think. I think most people, to be honest with you, didn't want to say 3-0. I think most people using the history of series to kind of base their opinion of 2-1 on. But I think that was the general consensus. Most people are thinking that 2-1 is probably about right. But myself and Ugo, who I've been spending most of my time with out here, are pretty confident that this should be a 3-0. I just think that with where Australia are, with how good the Lions squad is, I think it should be a 3-0. But stranger things have happened, and they will definitely rally.
I totally agree with you, Tone. A lot of people are saying about how Australia came back, and we spoke about it on the episode we did straight after the game. You can still watch that on YouTube or listen on audio form. And, I was pretty confident that, yes, Australia can improve, but I don't think they can improve as much as the Lions can in another week. And I think the Lions, if they play with the intensity that we saw them do for 50-odd minutes, then I believe that they'll get the job done again.
No, agreed. And I think when you look at the overall landscape of it, Len, I think that just on paper, and this might seem harsh, but I'm not sure how many Australians, I know if you add back in Skelton, Valentini, potentially Tupou if he gets through Tuesday, etc., you can make an argument for those guys, but I'm not sure who else gets in that Lions team. And so, obviously the game's not played on paper, but it plays a significant role. And so I just look at both squads and teams, and I think that generally, talent-wise and test match experience-wise, they're almost in very different leagues, to be honest with you. And I know that the Lions series is a one-off, event or series, but still that plays a massive role. And so, yeah, I think the Australia are now even further underdogs than they were at the start of the tour.
Yeah, look, and we want Australia to be better this weekend coming, because it makes for a better game, it makes for a better series. I still don't think that their growth is as high as what the Lions' growth will be, and I just do not see the Lions dropping off the intensity like they did. But you also look, yes, they could add Skelton, yes, they could add Valentini, yes, they could add others, but the Lions also, Blair Kinghorn come in at fullback potentially. I rate really, really highly. Obviously got a knee injury, we're not quite sure when he's fit. Mac Hansen's another one who's been in great form. Now, Bowler counts, unfortunately, he just couldn't shake off a minor injury, Bowler counts, ahead of this one. So the Lions have got additions that they can add in. The Lions could totally change their bench, for instance. The impact of the bench wasn't to the standard I'm sure Andy Farrell would have liked, because had the intensity been brought to a higher level from the bench, I really think the Lions would have totally ran away with that game. So the bench could look different. Tuesday becomes quite important for quite a few players. Can they set up, put a marker down ahead of Saturday to force away into test team? So yes, I'd love Australia to be better. I just don't think that I don't think the growth's as high as what the Lions will be in a week's time.
On Saturday's episode, we were quite vocal in how we thought the Lions played, and there were plenty of comments came in Ben and Tone, about our opinions. I'll read some now. We don't have to respond. I'll rattle through them, and then afterwards we can think about it. Bob Bugle said, great 50 minutes, but lost the second half. That is not good. Ryan McDonald, are you guys stoned? Mark Robinson, I love the Lions winning, but is this the worst Aussie team ever against the Lions? You can only beat what's in front of you, I suppose. Keone Wright said, yes, this is the Lions tour, but I think it will concurrently become the Israelihi really worth it tour as well. Daniel Bronx, thanks to the insight, lads. A first test win over the Wallabies in 12 years is something to celebrate. Ignore the negative comments. Keep up the great work. Richard Lawrence said, did Ben watch the same game we all watched? The Lions are okay, beating a not okay Wallaby team. Snore, predictable rugby. Rusty, if the principle of the big game player beats a player in form, what's the point of any warm-up games? And Tim said, I bloody love the Lions, but spent a lot of Saturday willing Australia on. What a weird feeling.
That's bizarre, Tim. You love the Lions, but you spent Saturday willing Australia on. Like, I think that's the thing. I think people are desperate for it to be like an amazing, intense game, but Australia are not at the same level of the Lions, and the Lions put them away. And the intensity that Lions started allowed them to go, for the first 30 minutes to be in total control, because the intensity the Lions played at and can play at was so superior to the Aussies. I think the thing I find kind of hard, or sort of as I'm delving through and seeing people's response to the victory and everything like that, is if this was a knockout game for your club, for your country, in any type of game, like, everyone would be delighted. No one would be worried about like the last 12 minutes. Everyone would be like, we've won the game. It's a straight knockout game. And it is. Like, Lions now have 2 opportunities to go and win a series, instead of 1. Australia got 1 chance. They can blow it this weekend. And, I think if it was a knockout game, everyone would be absolutely delighted. But it seems like a really weird response to it. Maybe the game didn't live up to the hype. Okay. But Lions still got the job done. And as we say, we're always going to try and be as positive spin on it. But, this weekend, let's hope everyone is better. I hope Australia are better, because it'll bring out the best in the Lions. The worry is Australia aren't better and the Lions get the job done again in 50-odd minutes.
I think the overall view is like Lions, because you wait 12 years for it, and the Lions test rule was traditionally like such a massive thing on the rugby calendar, aren't they? You kept playing against the Southern Hemisphere, it's supposed to be the best teams in the world. And I think that's probably just the frustration of some of the fans, is the fact that you've gone to Australia and it's not the pinnacle of Lions rugby, if you see what I mean, because the Lions, yes, well, they either play at their peak and probably batter Australia by 60 points, which no one really wants to see, or you have the game at the weekend. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things, isn't it, where it's like, you probably, again, you're judging it by what's gone on in the past, like the 97 Lions tour, the 2017 Lions tour, all those kind of things, whereas actually you're not judging it on what's this current Lions tour by in its own standing, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, and I think as well, Coley, if you add into the fact that, the Lions started really well, went up, it kind of took away some of the entertainment factor of those games. You want them to be tight, cagey, not a foregone conclusion. And when you go into the game as the favourite and then you're winning pretty decently after at half time, people start thinking, it's a foregone conclusion, and where's the entertainment? Because that's what sport's predicated on, isn't it? Drama and suspense and all of that stuff. And so when people have waited 4 years or even 8 years as fans to watch in the stadium or at home or whatever, a Lions game, and it's like, this is how I predicted it going, it kind of takes away that the novelty of it,
Yeah, the jeopardy of sport totally engrosses us, right? But there was no jeopardy after 30, 40 minutes, was there? And straight after half time, again, you're thinking, right, Australia might fire a shot here. Lions score is 24-5, and that the high stakes that we want it to be, all that jeopardy is just gone. Like, it felt like, and then it just went completely flat. And then there's a little bit at the end, and then you hold on to the fact that, they came back. And I think that's what people are doing. They came back. But what we'd love to see is different to what we did see, and probably different to what we're going to see again for the next 2 weeks. It's probably not going to be to what we all want it to be.
Anyway, Tone, as you are a man on the ground, can you immerse us in what it feels like to be in Brisbane? I mean, it's obviously gone incredibly dark there in the past 5 minutes. But what was the game day like? What was the whole pre-match experience for you?
So we had Lions Den at pretty early. I mean, obviously it was Lions Den opened up at 2 p.m, which is 6 hours before kickoff, or there or thereabouts. And I've never, ever seen anything like it in my life. Like, honestly, seeing 7,000 people in a convention room all wearing red shirts, all getting behind the Lions. It was like nothing I'd ever seen or experienced before. And it starts even before that, you know, just being in the city the last 2 days. I promise you can't walk a block without seeing someone in Lions gear. Like the amount of people that have traveled is insane. I mean, I don't know, from experiencing it firsthand 4 years ago with no fans, I think doing this just has highlighted how central the fans are to the Lions experience, not just from coming out here, but also just from being a player out here and feeling the magnitude of it. Cause mate, it's totally different. So it's special, mate. The whole city is buzzing. And it'll be like that everywhere we go. I think that they're not quite sold out for the MCG next week, but if there's 100,000 seats, there's going to be a good 40, 50,000 at least that are going to be wearing red next week.
Right, I've got a couple of questions. You say you're in a convention room, right? What else is going on in this room? Or is it just literally 7,000 people on a stage? There must be some, like, is it other entertainment? Or is it, like, beers, drinks, food? Like, is it literally just everyone rammed into a room listening to you?
No. Well, first of all, I think about 3 people probably came to see me out of the 7,000. I think the rest of them were there to see Jono. So no, it's, there was loads of different stuff going on, to be honest with you. There was a main stage, which took up like a good half of the room, which all the big dogs talked on. You know, Ben Kay was up there, Ugo was up there, Ronan O'Gara was up there. And then there was a bar towards the back of the room with a stage on top. And that's where all the second grade citizens were. So myself, James Haskell was up there, Tins was up there, which seems ridiculous seeing as he's in the royal family, but we were all up there. We got pushed to the back, but there was so much stuff going on in there. Like they had like 8 different food stands, which you can imagine I was posted up right next to the Mexican joint. And mate, there was just so much, like, I don't know how much you had to pay to get in, to be honest with you, but the experience is worth it.
There's got to be someone that got so giddy at 2:00 in the afternoon in the Lion's Den with his mates, started getting on it and never made it to the game. There's got to be someone that is definitely, like, someone would have, like, you know, waited all this time, been in that environment, like totally losing the plot, 7,000 fans, like Lions chanting, get another drink, start at 2:00, never makes it to Suncorp. Like, there's got to be a story out there. I'm sure, I'm adamant that someone would have blown it there.
Oh, 100%. There was a group of 6 lads all dressed head to toe in kit, and one of them had a scrum hat on. And I promise you, by 3:30, I tried to have a conversation with them, and I could not make out what these guys were saying. So if they saw the game, then I don't know what game they were watching. They could have been watching the State of Origin, mate, and they would have been giving it the big one.
Like a replay, exactly. Of State of Origin in there.
Honestly. But yeah, you got to enjoy it. You got to.
Too right. What was it? Take us inside Suncorp, mate. And what was it like, obviously, in the build-up? And then, obviously, what was it like when the Lions were 24-5 up? Did the chants kind of just stop and it was like, right, time for another round?
Yeah. Oh, mate, the start of it was a spectacle, to be fair. They had done a great job with, like, the announcements, the lights, all the fireworks, all that stuff. Like, it was a proper setup that they'd put on. And I think the first 10 minutes was as buzzy as I've seen a game in my life. Like, you know what Aussie fans are like. They were giving it big ones, and they quickly turned on their own players. I was hearing some mad stuff being shouted. Honestly, it was crazy. There was one bloke who was sat probably 6-7 rows back, and I promise you, every single time an Australia player carried, he was saying, "Go on, Harry," or he was saying whoever it was carrying the ball, mate. He was chanting his name, and I was like, "Oh, can we just get a yard, please? Just let us watch the game." Their fans were good as well, to be fair. I mean, like I said, they were frustrated, and I think at sort of 55, 60 minutes, the vibe quickly changed, and it was a bit flatter. They wanted to get behind, you know, when it's like yay, we can do it, but we can't really. Do you know what I mean? That's what the type of feeling like I was getting out of it. And there were, to be fair to Australia, there was a fair bit of hope, chatting to their fans. There was a fair bit of hope that they could swing it. So I think that, you know, that expectation probably just, I guess, killed their joy towards the end.
The first penalty of the game, Tone, when Tyburn turns the ball over and the Lions decided, and Maro decided to kick for the posts, who was booing in the stadium? Was it the Lions fans or was it the Aussie fans? Because it was definitely audible boos on TV.
Yeah, that was loud, and I'm pretty sure it was both, which I think is just absolutely crazy. At what point are you kicking to the corner there? Like, honestly, you've got a penalty from that position after a kick-off, all that.
Can you imagine a World Cup final kicking for a post after 30 seconds and people booing?
We got to win the game, and everyone's like, "Boo! Entertain me." Well, it's a gimme right in front of the sticks, right at the start of the game. I think I'll take the free. No, boring. Entertain me. I'm bored. It's like
ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. Have the Lions invented any more chants, mate, in the stadium? I did hear, obviously, more than just the Lions, but I did hear Maro's, of course, the great chant going on at one point. But they got any others?
I'd love to hear that. I didn't hear any in the stand. I heard Ben Kay's got one flying around about Tig Furlong. I can't remember the ins and outs of it, but the gist of it is Tig Furlong, and then he runs it after that. Ugo's tried starting one in the Lions Den, which I'm not sure went down as well as he had it planned in his head.
Was it Ugo? It wasn't that.
What's that coming over a hill? It's Ugo Monnier.
Yeah. Let's just get into Oogs and just tell him that we are running with that.
Do an AI rendition of it on the start of this episode.
Oh, I just want that to be true. So please get him to do it next week.
Yeah, I'll try. It won't take much. A couple Bundabergs and Cokes, he'll be flying.
The great thing about the Lions is, as you said earlier, it's the support. And like, even when we, like New Zealand, Australia and stuff, we lose games and stuff, the Lions, like, there's loads of fans who spend 4 years saving up and they just want to have a great time. And like, yes, the rugby's there, but also there's so much more, especially in Australia. You know what I mean? There's so much to do and see, and it's the other side of the world. And sometimes it's the only time you're ever going to go there in your life. And so I think like that's the great thing about when you're on a Lions tour as a player. I mean, you had that one in South Africa where you didn't have any fans, but like, there's so much embrace in regards to like the people that are out there loving it. They tell you their story. They've come from so-and-so in Wales or Scotland or England, you know what I mean? And they've basically spent 4 years saving and they want to be there. And that's the great thing. I think that's the Lions is what makes it unique. And almost like, yes, fans want to be part of history and want to see a good game, but it's 80 minutes of their week. And there's a lot more in the week going on, which is when they can have a great time, when they meet people and, as you say, see legends of the game and all that kind of stuff. So like, yeah, I think probably the perspective at home is a lot different to what the fans out there are having, because they're out there having fun and enjoying it, whereas we just see it, talk about it, and then move on with our week, you know what I mean?
Right, we've had plenty of questions come in, as you can imagine, so we'll try and get through as many as we can. We've got a question from M. My husband and I have been debating what gear the Lions were in. He thinks they started in third and ended in second. I think they started in fifth and dropped down to third.
Interesting. I would say fourth to third is probably an appropriate estimation. I think fifth gear is a gear you see for, in most occasions, 20 or 30 minute bursts in a game, and then you get to fourth gear. It's very rare you see a fifth gear performance for 80 minutes, because that's essentially, you know, the team operating at its absolute maximum throughout the whole game. I don't think you see that often. So yeah, I think fourth gear is probably a fair estimation of the start of the game. And then I'd say from sort of 25, 30 minutes of the second half, third gear.
Do you think that term needs to change? Because most cars, Coley, have sort of 6 or 7 gears now. So I feel like that term is actually dated.
Some have 10, mate.
Some have 10.
Some electric cars have 1. Some have 2. Yeah. Yeah, I actually read that question and thought they're actually in red Canterbury gear, but...
Well, the Aston Martin definitely has...
Only has 1 gear tone, full power.
Just like you on a Saturday night, eh?
Yeah, I think the Lions started at a real high intensity, and so I'd say that they started in a good sort of fifth, came out of the blocks, looked incredibly strong, powerful around the contact area, really slick in terms of their decision making. So I think they started in a really high, and I think Australia almost got punched in the face and they couldn't reach the intensity of that. And naturally, then the Lions just dropped off, having had the game wrapped up. So I'd say that we saw some fifth. I think they probably then dropped down to fourth. And I reckon, the 2 late tries will really annoy Andy Farrell. I just know for a fact, and lads, you know him well, like that will annoy him. So I think they probably drop down to about a third. And that's the bit that I think will really sort of, like, it's actually almost good it's happened, because I think this week it gives them a little bit of edge to the Lions. It annoys them. Like, it's had they not almost scored and everything like that maybe, I'm not saying they ever would get complacent, but maybe your narrative changes how you shape the week. Well, this week the narrative doesn't change. It's like, we ain't doing that again, boys. Like, defence is how we show each other what we're about, what we mean to each other. So it's actually a really easy narrative for Andy Farrell to like hammer home this week, don't you reckon?
Yeah, no, I think Farrell will be annoyed with that. But I think the narrative the Lions might go after as well is they did actually leave opportunities out in the first 40 minutes of the game. They left opportunities on the field. And so actually, if you talk about being like a ruthless side, yes, you can go after the bench, but you could also probably go after the starters in some regards of being actually... And they played well, but you know what I mean? Like, there's still more to come from the starters, like, as in regards, you could kill off the game and you could really, if they want to be the best Lions team of all side, you got to have that ruthless thing from 0 to 80, haven't you? So I think that's for them. And the squad, yes, is more at the bench, but I'm sure he'll be prodding the starters as well to say, we need more, we need more, we need more. You got more to give. There's loads more to give. We're only scratching the surface. Boom, boom, boom. So yeah, that'd be interesting how the Lions mentally play the week out, but that's what you'd expect.
Yeah, and the defence is obviously his forte, like you said.
We've got a question from Cassandra. How much can you see Andy Farrell changing the team for the second test?
My gut is saying that there might be 1 or 2, but I don't think it'll be a massively changed up 15. I don't think you can. I think, to be honest with you, the forward pack was, who would you change in there? Like all the debate around Tom Curry before, and he was an absolute joke, like different level. So he's absolutely going nowhere. I don't think you can change anyone in the forwards. I don't know, Cole, you'll have a better view of that than me, but from where I was looking at the game, I think the forwards, all of them, to a man, played well.
Well, I think forwards-wise, you don't really make any change apart from McCarthy's injury. Potentially you might have to make a change there, but like, if everyone's fit and healthy, I think the pack stays the same, as I think probably the bench. But the bench might make changes in that forward pack, because you might try and prod some intensity out of them. But again, the only place I could see changes is potentially in the back 3. Mac Hansen's been playing well on tour. Kinghorn's potentially fit for this second test. Do you maybe bring one of them in just to sort of keep things prodding and try to move forward? But I don't know, like, you know what I mean? You can easily play that 10-23 again and go from there.
Yeah, I think at this stage, the only ones I can think of, as you mentioned there, Joe McCarthy, potential injury. They said they got him off early, so let's hope that he's okay, because I think he's been in terrific form. Back 3, I agree, Mac Hansen, if he's fit, Blair Kinghorn, if he's fit in time. I think those guys are definitely pushing to be involved. But Andy Farrell showed last week, with his selections, and there was a lot of debate about it, is he has players he trusts, he has players that he believes in, and he knows that they'll deliver for him. So is he going to make changes? We assume that there might be a couple forced. There may be some selection decision ones done, but equally the bench, we're assuming there could be changes there. But I don't know. If he went with him the first time, he's obviously got players in there that he truly believes in. And I guess the beauty is, and the depth that they do have, is if they do make changes, like, there is no drop off. Like, they are blessed with a tremendous squad they've got.
Definitely. I think especially, to be honest with you, in the back 3, like, I think Fremo, has played really, really well this tour. I think that James Lowe's probably not hit the heights that he did in the Six Nations, but, when you're as classy an operator as him, he'll be looking to bounce back next week. But regardless of who you suggest Mac might come in for, there's no debates that you can say that Mac is a downgrade or a significant upgrade, just a different style of player, and whether that suits game plan this week or where they want to go is ultimately what will dictate the selection, I guess. I think that Kinghorn was probably the form fullback and the first choice going into this tour, so there's potentially more scope for him to go straight back in. But I think that area is definitely one that will be interesting to see come Wednesday, Thursday when the team's announced.
Well, it actually links up nicely to our next question, Tone. Got a question from Josh. Does Ant think the Lions are lacking a bit of out-and-out pace on in the wide channels? There was a couple of occasions where Potter absolutely skinned our backs.
Do you know what? I don't think so, because I think that James Lowe is not that his game is not around flat-out speed, right? And he's against Jorgensen, or was against Jorgensen, whose game is flat-out speed. And you saw on that disallowed Hugh Jones try that, gas can get you out of a lot of trouble sometimes, but it's not the be-all and end-all. Like, James Lowe's got him on the edge, and Jorgensen comes across and covers the ground quickly to catch up with him, but then James Lowe's able to use his super strength and get out of some trouble there. So, look, and Fremo is rapid. There's absolutely no debates on that one. So I don't think so. I actually would disagree with that statement.
Well, a question from Lola, and this actually refers to a different episode that we've obviously done before, Ant, with your gang sign in New Zealand. So if you haven't seen that, check it out. That is in the archive on YouTube and audio. How do you rate the Lions' try celebration so far? Not enough gang signs for my liking.
Tuipolotu, we're cut from the same cloth. I seen that. Loved that. Absolutely loved that. I'm not sure Tom Curry was ready to throw up some M's or whatever he was going to do, but Tuipolotu's was nice.
Curry would do it though. Like, Curry thinks he's some of this thing he's done in trading, and like just in the gym, where you're like, I would fully expect out of Curry, and then fully have to backtrack it on his Oundle school education. So that would make me laugh.
I would love to see it still, though.
There's still time. Right, let's go to an ad break. Coley, I'm going to be honest with you. Seeing the sea of red in Australia, I've got rugby FOMO.
Well, Ben, I might have the answer for you. I know we've been talking a lot about taking For the Love of Rugby abroad, and I've gone and sorted it.
Go on.
I've only gone and sorted as a trip to the Emirates Dubai Sevens from the 28th to the 30th of November.
Coley, you've absolutely smashed that. Tell me more, mate.
Well, Ben, it's more than just a Sevens tournament. Alongside the rugby at the Sevens Stadium, there's all the food and drinks offerings you could ever want, a huge kid zone, and a lineup of some of the world's biggest artists and DJs. I'm told last year it was headlined by Stormzy and the Sugar Babes.
We've also heard there's netball, cricket, and a paddle tournament, so I might actually enter that myself. Plus a fitness competition, so I'll leave that one to you, mate.
No, that is right up your street.
Coley, we're taking it abroad. We've got to do a live podcast during the weekend, haven't we?
Ben, Lenny, I've already sorted it. They're letting us host a rugby masterclass and then commentate on some of the games too.
Good stuff, Coley. So how can the THBs come and hang out with us then?
Tickets to Dubai Sevens will be on sale from the 1st of September. Head to emiratesdubai7s.com now for information about travel packages and start planning your trip.
And I'll see all you THBs out there. Right, those are the ads. Where do you go post-game, man?
I went to a lovely rooftop bar called Maya. Myself, Reece Priestland, Richie Reese, and Ugo. I was steaming, let's just be honest.
I need to know more. What were you drinking?
Come on, Len, you know what I'm on. Tequila and ginger ale, strictly.
Yeah.
You were just swaying, were you?
Don't know how you do it. What time do you finish?
I got home about 2:30.
That means 4, because you're never going to admit publicly it was 4.
I was home by 2:30.
Good work, mate. Right, Coley, what the Aussies been saying about Joe Schmidt?
Well, Ben, you asked about Australian newspapers. I've actually got up early this morning and looked at them all. Some of them behind paywalls. You have to know the right websites to go through to get past them, but I've done it. Alternatively, Tone could have just gone down to reception and got them, but he didn't. So the newspaper headlines. I really need a coffee and some, Do you remember there was an Italian football programme on Channel 4 in the 90s where the man used to sit down with like a cappuccino. I would say a croissant, but that's France. But he had someone else and he'd just talk through he'd speak Italian with the Della Italia Sport, whatever you used to call it. Anyway, I'm going to do that. The Gazette. The Australian says the Wallabies go down fighting as Lions flex muscle in series opener. The Sunday Telegraph says Wallabies can't accept mediocrity or sport in this country is dead. Sydney Morning Herald said you've got to toughen up, Lion are battered but not beaten. And the Australian Guardian said unfancied Wallabies finish strong against Lions as Jorgensen and Potter glimmer in gold.
That's really odd, though. I'll be honest. That's really odd because I thought that usually the Australian press are quick to hammer, their team, or quick to be on the negative side of things. So I'm very interested that they've spun it like that.
Previously, the Aussies have been hammered by the media, haven't they? They're like malicious in some regards, whereas that's almost like, the Australian, just, you know what I mean? Like almost resigned to just being mediocre.
Michael Hooper on Sky after game, he was saying he was feeling a bit flat about it all, and he hinted that the team could have had more prep.
Yeah, I think that is a very, very valid statement. I don't know. There must be a logistical reason as to why they only played one game, because to have one warm-up game for a game before a game you've waited 12 years for, after not being together for months properly, I think is quite short-sighted, if I'm honest. The Lions, albeit, coming together of 4 teams, I just think that you've got to give yourself every opportunity to be as cohesive as possible. And some of that only comes with game time. And if you've only had one game, then how do you expect for it to just roll out there when you play in the biggest test game of potentially some of these guys' careers? I think that the prep is definitely a very valid point, 100%. And then you even look at the makeup of the Australian squad in general, and then it even highlights it more, like the lack of caps across, especially the backs. I know Suoli is experienced in another sport, so you can talk about the pressure element there, but I think that cohesion and add in the experience of some of those players, I think that they definitely should have played more games.
Mate, I think that the whole narrative around they didn't have time together is absolute bollocks, because they know this tour has been coming. That's on them to organise. It's the coaching staff, it's the powers above them to organise and get them best prepped to make sure they're ready to go. None of the players got released back to the franchises to play. They've been in camp for 4 weeks. They played against Fiji in a warm-up game. Yes, they could have played more. They chose not to. The selection-wise, they picked Liner at 10. They could have put McDermott at 9 because they played together at the Reds. They didn't choose to do that. They could have put Nick White at 9, who's got 70-odd caps and a huge amount of experience. They had James O'Connor in the squad. Like, all of it is coaching. Like, they're the guys that decided to do this. They're the guys that, self-inflicted, mate. So I don't actually have any sympathy for the fact of this narrative of, we had no time to prep, we didn't do this. That's, Jesus Christ, the Lions tour didn't just creep up on them. Like, they knew this was in the pipeline years ago. And the fact that they've had their inability to prep themselves and get them ready is on them. No one else's fault. And the fact that they went with certain selections when they could have had cohesion selections, they could have had selections where people do play together. Like, they could have gone Nick White and Donaldson, for instance, to play together at the Western Force. Like, there is loads of combinations they could have done, but they chose not to. There is other things they could have put in place, but they chose not to. And again, like the beginning of the tour, there was a big sort of hoo-ha and debate about why are these players not being released for the franchise, because he said, I need time with them. Well, you've had time. The question is, what you've been doing in that time. That's the main question. The question is, what have you been doing in the time that you have had together? So, rant over.
No, 100%. You're right, Len. One warm-up game is not enough. Like, and that, I think that there has to be a reason as to why, but there's always ways around it. Like, I know for a fact that, if you want, as a head coach, as we've experienced in the past, if you want something to happen as a head coach, you can make it happen. If you want an extra warm-up game with 7 months notice, there's a way around it, like you can make some stuff happen. So yeah, that's 100% self-inflicted. And I think you saw that in the way that some of the game was managed and some of their lack of fluidity in attack, just didn't look as joined up or as they looked so predictable, in my opinion. Especially in the 22, which I think is exactly where you need to have variation. You need to have an ability to keep people second guessing what they're doing. Australia in the 22 looked very one-off.
It's the same as debate again with that to 2 invitational teams. Like, why is there not an Australian A game being played and all these bits and bobs? And there was a mention about obviously losing Noah, who was the out-and-out 10 for them, of course. But, like, you still have to prep and be aware that you might lose. Like, Joe Suaalii obviously did his jaw, didn't he, just before the tour. He did it for the Waratahs. Now, like, you've got to have plans in place to have depth in certain positions. So again, it just, for me, it just seems like a huge amount of lack of planning. Like, again, like the Australian A fixture, why is there not one? If you've got 23 that are playing against the Lions the weekend just gone, and you've got another 12 lads in camp, well, are they not better playing a fixture so they're match sharp and they're match ready in case they suddenly have to come in? So an Australian A game would make more sense.
What I will say, Ben, is I don't know, in terms of warm-up games, for instance, is who are Australia going to play? I know they played Fiji once, but then it's a bit like South Africa touring, the touring teams come over, England are on tour, New Zealand are playing France. Like, there are, you know what I mean? And say Scotland played Samoa, but then Samoa Scotland beat Samoa recently, so you know what I mean? And Scotland are missing their line, so it's a bit like which quality opposition are Australia going to play? And again, I don't know if that's the Australian coaches or the union not being able to do it, or is it World Rugby with the calendar? I don't know. And also, secondly, player selection, you kind of got to think like, we're not in the squad, so therefore we don't know what's going on. And yes, there's a lot of experience left outside the squad, but do they not fit what Joe Schmidt wants to do? Is he building for the future? You know what I mean? There's a bit more. We can sit here and sort of talk about he's not good enough, this ain't good enough, they should have done this, but there's a reason they didn't. And until that gets explained, we kind of, no one will know.
I'll just leave with this, though. During the last Lions tour, which had COVID restrictions on, South Africa played Georgia, then they played the emerging box. And Ant was on that tour, and you can probably vouch, the emerging box was pretty much the same team that played the first test. So Razzie had the foresight to make sure that they had 2 games by the time that they played that first test. And Australia, for me, like, they've missed an opportunity. So the narrative, as I say, that they haven't enough prep, haven't done that is on them. And I don't buy it, because you've seen teams like South Africa being able to do it.
I'm not denying the fact that they need more prep. I'm not denying them that. And I think it's a poor excuse as well, because, like, how much prep do you need? You know what I mean? Like, however, like the Six Nations stuff, teams come together with 2 weeks before and play the test match and do that. So, and you know the Lions were coming. So I get that. I just think that potentially there's more to it than there is more to it than we know. Whether it's just the people that didn't want to play games, whether they couldn't play games, I don't know. But you know what I mean? I'm just saying that, yes, at some point, maybe after the tour, they'll come out and tell us, we'll find out why. But until that, there's a great sort of murky area, don't know what's going on.
I'm pretty sure, Len, as well, that South Africa actually played Georgia twice. They played Georgia twice, and then you're right. The South Africa A game was basically the team that we played the week after. But I don't know, Coley. I just feel like, you know, someone like, let's just say, our good friend Eddie would have made something happen. You know, like, I hate to just bring his name up, but he's just the person that I know who's so meticulous in his prep and make stuff happen. He wouldn't have allowed one warm-up game. He would have made something happen for that, because it's good for the game. It's good for the game in general. You know, good for rugby for this to be as hotly a contested series as it can be. And you need to do whatever you need to do in order to make it that. So by having warm-up games, if that improves and potentially improves the quality of rugby on show, then I think it's in everyone's best interest. So you're right, but I just think that at some point you got to make it happen.
Yeah, no way. Like, we obviously had Michael Check, and there's no way he'd allow that to happen. There's no way Steve Ballfoot would allow that to happen. He would make sure the team's prep. But we're about the love, and we've got to speak about one guy, because Maro, he started 6 Lions tests in a row, likely to be the 7th. He's 5 days away from being a winning Lions captain. Absolute legendary status is on the horizon here. Different
level stuff, that is. I think, mate, I was sat with Ugo yesterday in the game, and we were talking about Tadhg Furlong having started 7 tests in a row for the Lions. I think that's right, isn't it? Yeah. And Maro doing the same. Like, Maro's not started 7, but Maro's now started 6 in a row. He was on the bench for the first test in New Zealand. It's just, to be able to sustain that level of performance across that many years is just ridiculous. You know, like, to be the number one in your position across an 8-year span, for me, there's no better testament to the quality of you as a player than being selected in that position, and then add captain on top of it. like you said, Len, yeah, you're in a different stratosphere. The Louis Vuitton deal is en route for Maro.
Well, in the modern era, only Martin Johnson and Sam Warburton have won a series as a captain. So it puts him on like that level, if not another level. And given the how many games in a row that he's likely to achieve by the end of the tour, like you've played with him in the last 2 tours, and like how much has Maro changed and developed and sort of grown into that captain?
I think he's changed more as a player than he has like off the field, in terms of, you know, other stuff that he brings into his game now. Like, you know, obviously at the start of his career, he wasn't necessarily known for Jacqueline and all that. He was a line-out operator and he would get around the pitch and disrupt and stuff. And then from sort of 2019 onwards, he added that to his game, and then more, and now the leadership stuff. He's a very logic-driven man, you know, like he's not overly emotional. He'll probably leave that up to the guys like Genji and a few others to drive that or ramp up that side of it. But he's very logically driven, tactically astute. So no, he's definitely grown into that captaincy role. There's no debates around that. But as a person, he's always been so meticulous and like calm. Do you know what I mean? He's never too giddy or he's never too depressed. He's always just super, I guess, straightforward and not to the point, but let's just like, I don't know. He's really hard balanced. That's probably the best way I can explain Maro, is balanced. Yeah, he's just a man who's got it all together.
He has a calming presence, doesn't he? And he has a real consistent like mood, a real consistent level every day. Like it doesn't, like you say, fluctuate. Maro's just Maro. But I think what Maro does and what I've seen is the consistency he trains and the energy he brings to every single session, like, is incredible. Like he goes after it every single time. And that's an easier said than done, that skill. Like that is hard. You know, when I think of like an Owen Farrell or George Ford, like Maro's in that mix, like of where they just turn up every day and they bring the energy and they bring that consistency to the level of what they do things every single day. And that is an incredible mental and physical discipline that he's able to achieve. I also think then in terms of the captaincy stuff, Coley, like he's also, I think he's grown so much in terms of it being able to, like the way he communicates as a captain to the referee, the way he manages that, the way that he sort of, his presence around the ref and all that, because again, that is a really hard skill. Like, you know, you're in the thick of it. You're dealing with decisions maybe haven't gone your way. You can be frustrating, X, Y, Z. You've got other things going on. You've got to manage your team. You've got to manage your halfbacks. You've got to think about the game. You've got messages coming from the coaches. But then in those situations, you've got to be the calmest bloke on the field to have a real clear dialogue with a referee to get your point across, but equally be respectful to understand it, to feed that back. And all those dynamics, whilst calling a line out on all those things, you can't underestimate the amount of cognitive load that he has to deal with, you know, in the match as well.
Oh, certainly. I think when you come to like normal captains, say, like Martin Johnson, for instance, didn't sort of call the line out, you know, but say Maro's got that added load. He's got to be clean around the park. He's got to lead by example. You know, he's sort of, since being captain, and once his penalty counter sort of come down, and like there's so much you have to lead by. There's so much going on in your head, or going on in his head, I guess, in regards to setting the example, speaking to the ref, having to know the game situation, having to know the line out thing, and then you have the responsibility of, say, who kicks to the corner, or it's like, when do I take control of, say, the forward pack, or we maul this and we call the line out for the maul, so just give us a focal point to attack through. And it's all those bits and bobs that sort of the conversations he has to have with his own self about, you know, where the team is, what it needs best from him, that is a lot more than sort of just playing the game. So yeah, in terms of that, it's incredible what he is doing and is achieving and has done for quite a long time. I've got a question though for you, Tone. Having spent the past like couple of days with Martin Johnson, is that going to be Maro in 24 years' time?
2 mile deep queues.
If you change the skin tone on Martin Johnson, give him a few pearl earrings, won't be too dissimilar, mate. I think it's not far off. Both very chilled out is probably not that appropriate, but reserved. Both 2 very reserved gentlemen, but Maro's got a bit more bling, I'd say. I think that's a fair summation.
Will he have, do you think he'll actually have time? Do you think he'll have time on his hands to deal with all the new brand deals that are going to be coming his way? Tone, you might have to swoop in, mate. You'd be like, I'll take that off your
honestly,
hands, mate.
Yeah, listen.
You can't manage all that. You can't manage all that. I'll take it.
If you see a few popping up, mate, you'll know exactly what's happened. I've taken all the offcuts, the small jobs, mate.
Just undercut him. You just undercut him.
100%. Not been a captain, retired now, so I'm sure the fee will be about 1/20th. But we can make something happen.
Right. Question from Ruben. Has Anne taken Tig Furlong and his Winkle pickers for a night out in Australia yet?
I have not. No, I've left the boys to it. I know you guys know what it's like when you're, I don't know, in camp, but especially a Lions camp. You don't want to be that guy who's infiltrating or trying to get the lads out or anything like that. So I've left all of them to it. I'm sure I'll see a few of the boys at some point. Definitely not on a night out, to be honest with you, because I think that that's reserved for, the boys you've been with the last 8 weeks. Do you know what I mean? I just think that that's it's not fair for someone else to go in there and jump on and not rain on their parade, but feel part of something you're not part of. Those are the guys. You should let them have their moment.
What a performance from him, though, at the weekend. He was terrific, Tig Furlong. His ability to keep the ball alive, his ability to roll out of tackles, like the distribution from Finn Russell for the Tuipulotu try, that comes from Tig Furlong keeping the ball alive. Like, I thought he was terrific at the weekend.
Yeah, Coley will obviously be able to talk more about the scrummaging element of it, but mate, ball in hand, he just looked like he had the wind in his sails almost, and he just refused to get tackled a few times, was always getting an extra 3-4 meters. And yeah, he's got, as we know from Tig, he's got a pretty full skill set, offloading. I think that people really underestimate that, ability to throw the ball at the back when you're in that pod of three, and how important it is to stay square, the accuracy of your pass, how important all the facets of that is, and how difficult it is for people to do. And Tig does it to a very, very high level. And like you said, it frees up Finn to be able to do what he does.
Your delivery there, have you?
I think they're trying to clean my room.
If you've heard that beep there, Ant has gone to get the door because he's either ordered a club sandwich, or they're trying to, prepare his room.
I think it's his nightly turn down service.
The penthouse.
They're going to put a little chocolate on the pillow.
Sorry, guys, that was just my champagne.
It's a long walk. This room's massive.
Yeah, that took you 10 minutes to walk to the door and walk back. Mate, when you got to check out then? So when do you fly to Melbourne to follow the tour?
We'll fly to Melbourne tomorrow morning. It's a flight at 9 a.m, so I'll be asleep by 11, hopefully. Chances are I won't be, but I'll try.
And what's your plan during the week, mate?
This week is actually pretty quiet. I've got 0 plans up until Friday. So I'll be getting out and about, exploring Melbourne. Melbourne is the fashion centre of Australia, so I'll be going back with 0 cheese. And I might have a set of Winkle pickers like Tig.
Cheese is Ant's reference to money, in case no one knew that. But remember to get the Hugo Monye chant going, please. What's that coming over the hill? And all the THBs listeners that are out there, please get involved. I really want to get this off the ground.
I'll give it a shot.
Anytime anyone sees Hugo Monye in Australia, just down the end of the street.
Love it.
And thanks for joining, mate. Safe travels to Melbourne. Man on the ground. He'll be back, of course, next week with all the ins and outs of what's happening in Australia.
Cheers, Tone.
Cheers, lads. Appreciate you.
To all the THBs, Carly, I reckon if you see Martin Johnson, get a photo with him because he's having to do 10,000 a day. So the extra one might tip him over the edge. I also would like to know if anyone, we had some great stories come in last week. So if anyone's out there, please let me know if you know of anyone that was maybe in the Lions' den that got a bit carried away, that never actually made it to the game. I'd love to know if someone absolutely blew it after all that hard work of trying to get there, organised and everything like that they never actually turned up to the stadium. That would be quite, I don't know why, I just think that'd be quite amusing if someone absolutely blew it.
Yeah, I think the THB should have some fun when they're out in Australia, Melbourne. Ask Jono for a photo, go up to Hask, tell him what a great podcast for Love Rugby is. Do other such things. Hugo Monye chant. If you find Tone, you could say, what can we do for Tone?
With Anne, what you should do, the THPs, is go up to him and make him think that that everyone did a really good, like a clever edit and made it look like you and him had a huge heated debate. So if you see Ant say, "Oh, what about you and Coley going at it?" Cool, like you really disagreed, didn't you?
Yeah.
And
or just go up to him like, you really don't like Coley, do you?
yeah. Just be like, I listened to the episode. Cool, you came across that you really didn't like him, just so he can just spend the whole week worrying, and then obviously watching the video back or listening on audio and thinking, well, hang on a minute, it sounds fine to me, but make him think that there's another version out there.
Yeah, just have some fun with him.
So all the THBs out there, have some fun, get selfies with Jono, tell Hask how great the Love of Rugby is and how much you enjoy it, and if you see Ant, tell him how much you enjoyed the heated debate with Coley and how obviously he clearly doesn't like him. And any other THBs, if you hear about someone that blew it, that didn't make it to the game, I'd love to know the story. So let us know.
For the love of rugby.
If you want to drop us a line, get involved with our socials.
Just search for @LoveOfRugby. And if you've listened to all our episodes and need another podcast, go and find Joe Marler's Things People Do.
See you next time.